Gon is going to Kukuroo Mountain to get his friend. Sitting on the airship, Gon keeps recalling what Killua said before. They are a family of professional assassins, and among them, he is the most promising one. However, Killua doesn't want to follow this path. He desperately escaped to live a normal life. Through his memories, Gon sees Killua's determined eyes and resolves to successfully bring Killua back. They landed in the Republic of Padokia, where Kukuroo Mountain is visible in the distance, covered in thick fog, looking eerie and terrifying. Although they know Killua home is not a secret place, Gon and his companions never expected that they would have to join a tour group to visit Killua home. On the tour bus, Gon and his group listen to the beautiful tour guide explain about the Zoldyck family while observing the passengers on the bus. Apart from the old man, the old lady, and a very gossipy young girl, there are also several unfriendly-looking young men sitting at the back, clearly troublemakers. As the bus approaches Kukuroo Mountain, although everyone knows that the Zoldyck family lives in this mountain, no one has seen their house or knows its exact location. The Zoldyck family is the world's most famous assassin family, consisting of 10 top assassins. If the introduction by the tour guide on the bus did not give everyone a clear idea of what a top assassin family means, standing in front of the Zoldyck family's gate, Gon and his group finally understand the true meaning of top. The tour guide says that the huge gate, also known as the Gate of Hades, is rumored that once you enter, you can't come out alive because it leads to the Zoldyck family's private land. Therefore, no one is allowed to enter for a visit, meaning the entire mountain is the Killua family's yard. This revelation even makes Leorio's jaw drop. At this point, when the tour guide mentions that the gate cannot be entered, the two troublemakers are clearly unhappy. They attack the guard and forcibly take the key to the small gate, then rush in without hesitation. However, within 5 seconds, screams are heard from inside, followed by two skeletons being thrown out by a giant claw. This terrifies the tourists, who quickly board the bus. Surprisingly, Gon and his group decide not to leave, much to the amazement of the tour guide. After the other tourists leave, Gon and his group approach the guard room and strike up a conversation with the guard. The guard is astonished to see legitimate visitors after so many years, especially knowing that they are Killua's friends. Despite this, he still refuses Gon and his group's request to enter the Zoldyck family's territory. The guard informs them that the Zoldyck family keeps a monster named Mike, who only obeys the Zoldyck family. If they force their way in like the troublemakers, they will end up like them, eaten by Mike. At this point, Kurapika is curious and asks why the guard is unharmed, considering he has the key. The guard admires Kurapika's observation skills and reveals that the key taken by the troublemakers was specifically prepared for those seeking revenge. If you open the small door with that key and enter the courtyard, you will be directly eaten by Mike. In fact, he is not a guard himself, but specifically a cleaner for handling aftermath for Mike. So, upon hearing this, Kurapika suddenly understood the old man's meaning. The real main door was not locked at all, it was the door for guests and family members to use. Later on, Gon and the other two stood in front of the magnificent main door again. Even Leorio's, using all his strength, couldn't push the door open, making him suspect that the door was definitely locked. The guard's old man couldn't bear to watch anymore. He asked Leorio's to step aside and took matters into his own hands. It seemed that this door was also a test. Generally, those who couldn't open it didn't qualify to enter and fight enemies. The old man then took off his clothes, revealing his muscular body, and with one push, he managed to open the main door. However, as soon as his hand left, the door quickly closed. At this point, the old man told Gon that there were a total of 7 doors here, with the smallest door weighing 4 tons. The higher the door, the heavier it was. When pushing the door with force, the main door would open the corresponding number of doors based on the strength applied. The guard said that when Killua went home, he could push open door number 3, indicating that with just one push, Killua already had the strength of 16 tons. This astonished everyone. But at this moment, Gon clearly had no intention of trying to push open the door. He decided to ask the guard for the key to the small door. This made Kurapika and Leorio's exclaim in dismay. Once Gon became stubborn, no one could stop him. So, the guard's refusal was futile. Gon seemed to prefer being eaten by Mike rather than pushing the main door. He felt he came to see Killua, why should he accept the trial? Unable to convince Gon, the guard had no choice but to call the housekeeper Goto in the mansion. However, Goto didn't believe that Gon was Killua's friend at all. Even Gon's personal call didn't work. This angered Gon, and facing his fury, Goto was speechless. As the housekeeper of the assassin family, Goto would never easily trust anyone. Gon then angrily walked out, took out a fish hook, hooked it onto the top of the trial gate, and climbed up. Leorio's and Kurapika tried to persuade him, but to no avail. The guard's old man, in helplessness, took out the key and said, "You might as well enter through the side door. I'll accompany you. Maybe if Mike recognizes one of you, he won't eat you." The guard's old man felt that after staying here for so many years, he couldn't watch the young Master Killua's friends die here. So, if someone had to die, they would all die together. Upon hearing these words, Gon finally calmed down. He realized that he couldn't let innocent people pay for his anger. The guard's old man was very pleased with Gon's decision. He was starting to like this child more and more. He decided to open the main door again and let Gon's and the others pass through. And when Gon's group entered the trial gate, he called Mike over. Gon saw such a huge hunting dog for the first time. Those big eyes were like lanterns, and its huge mouth could swallow several adults in one bite. Gon's was flustered seeing this colossal creature. Its heart seemed to only contain bloodlust and brutality. Gon finally realized how foolish his previous thoughts were, thinking that growing up in the mountains could enable him to communicate with all things. Nevertheless, even so, Gon still insisted on meeting Killua, no matter how many obstacles lay ahead of him. The old guard then led Gon and his group to the house where the servants lived. The old guard colleague, Sequent, was incredulous when he heard that they wanted to see Killua, but Gon's conviction was unwavering. He firmly believed that Killua needed him by his side now. The old guard decided to start special training for Gon and the others, at least to help them open the trial door outside. To train their strength, Gon and the others put on special sandbag vests. Each vest weighed a staggering 50 kilograms, pressing Leorio's down to the ground, unable to straighten his back. But that was not all. Their daily items were also replaced with heavier versions, 20-kilogram teacups and 40-kilogram teapots. These things were simply unbelievable. Sequent truly doubted that they could last for 3 days. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to Gon and his group, Killua was enduring inhuman torture. In a dark corridor, a noblewoman was leisurely walking with a young girl. They arrived at a dark door, and after the girl in a kimono opened it, a shocking scene unfolded. Killua's thin, pale body was hanging from handcuffs, covered in wounds, looking barely alive. Beside him, a fat man was gleefully whipping him. The noblewoman, actually Killua's mother, occasionally said a few words to the fat man. In fact, this noblewoman was Killua's mother, and the fat man was Killua's second brother, Miluki. As for the girl in a kimono, she was Killua's fifth brother, Kaluto. Miluki held a grudge against Killua for stabbing him, hence his ruthless whipping. Even Killua's mother felt it was a bit too much. In reality, they had come to inform Killua about Gon's situation. Upon learning that Killua had friends, they were all very displeased, especially Miluki, who then wanted to use Gon to threaten Killua. But after Killua heard Gon's name and knew that Gon was going to challenge the trial gate, his whole body finally moved slightly, and then he woke up. Killua angrily questioned his mother why she didn't tell him earlier. Before the words fell, Miluki's whip came down heavily again. He scolded Killua for not speaking politely to his mother, but his mother didn't mind Killua's bad temper at all. She said she didn't tell Killua because she didn't think it was necessary. After all, Gon and the others were absolutely impossible to pass through the gate of trials. But Killua believed in Gon. He believed that Gon would definitely come and would definitely overcome all obstacles to come to this place to see him. At this time, Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio stood in front of the gate of trials. Leorio told Gon to take care of his hands and leave the task of pushing the door to them, the able-bodied ones. However, despite Kurapika and Leorio's best efforts, the first door remained unmoved. Helpless, they had to continue their special training. Every day, they were exhausted to the point of losing half their lives. They would come back at night and fall asleep immediately, while Gon would secretly practice outside while they slept. Days passed, and Leorio's and Kurapika challenged the gate of trials time and time again, only to return in failure each time. Seeing this scene, Sequent was moved. He finally told Leorio's and Kurapika the key to opening the door, which was to keep the left and right sides in sync. With Sequent's hint, Kurapika and Leorio's indeed made significant progress. Although they failed to open the door successfully, they finally managed to push it open a crack after another round of special training. Kurapika and Leorio's came to challenge the gate of trials again. The old guard suggested that they take off their heavy vests and try again. This time, they should succeed. Kurapika and Leorio's then exerted all their strength. They finally managed to push the door open a crack again, but they were out of energy. Gon, seeing this, took off the bandages on his hands and stepped forward to help push the door. The three of them coordinated their breathing frequencies and exerted force in a unified and orderly manner. The gap of the trial door gradually widened, and they finally successfully pushed open the first layer of the door, entering the Zoldyck family courtyard. Gon expressed sincere thanks to the old guard. The old guard watched Gon's figure go away with a very kind smile. He believed that Gon and the others would definitely be able to see Killua successfully, but Sequent felt that their trip was a death sentence. 3 years ago, Sequent and many companions came here, only to be completely wiped out by an intern butler. That day, Sequent finally understood what hierarchical difference meant, an existence that could not be surpassed even with a lifetime of effort. Gon and the others, unaware, continued walking into the mountains. Not long after, they met a young butler with dreadlocks hair, who was none other than Kanari, who cared deeply for Killua. Kanari politely asked Gon and the others to leave quickly, or she would not be polite. Gon was very puzzled, asking if this was how the Zoldyck family usually treated guests, as he was a friend of Killua. However, Kanari just drew a line on the ground, indicating that if Gon and the others crossed that line, she would take action. Gon, however, stubbornly approached Kanari step by step. When Gon's foot just stepped on the line drawn on the ground, Kanari acted. She sent Gon flying. Kurapika and Leorios immediately rushed over, wanting to seek justice for Gon, but Gon told them not to conflict with the Zoldyck family. He was a guest at a friend's house and must be civilized and polite. However, as Gon approached again with civility and politeness, Kanari still emotionlessly sent Gon flying. But Gon, displaying a tenacious spirit, flew out time and time again, got up time and time again, and approached once again. This fearless spirit finally moved Kanari. She no longer wanted to harm Gon and thus wanted Kurapika and Leorios to persuade him. However, seeing the two staring straight at her, Kanari finally knew that persuading Gon was impossible. Thinking back to the scene when Killua returned, she believed that the person in front of her must be the young master's best friend. Kanari beat Gon from day to dusk, but Gon never backed down. His persistence completely convinced Kanari. She no longer laid a hand on Gon and instead cried, begging him to save Killua. But before she could finish her words, it seemed like she was shot in the head. It turned out that Killua's mother had been watching everything from the nearby forest. In her eyes, Kanari had acted on her own and needed to be punished. Killua's mother came out to meet Gon and told him that Killua had a message for him. Killua said he was happy that Gon could come, but it was not the time to meet yet, so he apologized. Gon was stunned. He had fought so hard to get here, only to receive this message. How could such a story of twists and turns happen to him? At this moment, Killua, who was hanging in a dark room, was covered in bruises and unable to move, but his mind kept recalling past events. When Killua was very young, he started carrying out assassination missions. Once, after completing a mission and returning on a mountain road, he encountered a girl with messy braids. When he had no missions, Killua would sit bored on a tree and eat apples. The girl with messy braids smiled at him again. She was the new intern butler, Kanari. She had a fondness for Killua, the third young master, and always felt that Killua was like a normal family's little brother. Killua realized that it was her who had unknowingly used a stealth technique, which was the basic of assassination techniques. Kanari listened with a puzzled expression. She said she grew up on Meteor Street, so she might have learned this dark step on her own. Meteor Street is a place erased by the world, where anything can be discarded. The Phantom Troop and many gang members come from Meteor Street. Killua was very curious about this, so he wanted Kanari to take him to Meteor Street in the future. Killua also had a good impression of Kanari, so he wanted to teach her the rhythm echo. Killua then showed Kanari. Kanari looked happy, suddenly feeling that many intruders were coming this way. Killua told Kanari not to worry because there were still Mike at the door. However, Kanari knew that since Mike did not stop these people, the intruders must want to test themselves. Soon, Sequent and a large group of intruders arrived at the door guarded by Kanari. Kanari was small but had a strong presence, blocking the way without fear. Facing the gangsters rushing in like a tide, she made her moves calmly and skillfully. Therefore, except for the leader of the intruders, the one-eyed man, everyone including Sequent was quickly defeated by Kanari. The one-eyed man raised his double knives and confronted Kanari, but the stalemate did not last long. The one-eyed man suddenly spat out a hidden weapon from his mouth, hitting Kanari's arm. Unexpectedly, at this moment, Kanari used the rhythm echo and quickly defeated the one-eyed man. This also completely stunned Sequent. After seeing Mike appear, Sequent quickly begged for mercy. It was only after this incident that he joined the enemy-beating family. At this moment, Killua realized that Kanari had known the rhythm echo long ago, making him even more curious about her. So, he proposed the idea of becoming friends, which made Kanari very happy. But when she saw Killua's mother hiding in the shadows, she ultimately rejected Killua due to their differences in status. However, from then on, Kanari became even more concerned about Killua. She always wanted Killua to live a happy life and have a close friend. Fast forward to the present, Gon checked Kanari's injuries and found that although she was shot in the head, she was not dead yet, which finally relieved Gon's guilt a little. Gon didn't look good when talking to Killua's mother at this time. He asked why Killua couldn't meet him now. Killua's mother said that Killua had recently stabbed her and his second brother, then ran away from home. So now he needs to reflect on the mistakes he has made. Killua's mother wanted Gon to leave. While she was talking to Gon, she seemed to see something incredible and said how could the father-in-law do this? She seemed a bit hysterical. Could there be a problem on Killua's side? Killua's mother left in a panic, but Kaluto stayed for a while. She curiously asked Gon, "Who are you guys?" Gon said he was Killua's friend. Kaluto wanted to ask more, but was called away by her mother. Now Gon and the others are in a dilemma. If they leave directly without taking care of Kanari, she may have to bear the responsibility of letting the intruders in. Fortunately, Kanari woke up at this time and decided to take Gon and the others to the steward's room, where there was a phone that could directly reach the mansion. If it was Master Zeno who answered the phone, Gon might still have a chance to see Killua. At this time, an old man came to the room where Killua was detained, with "1 kill a day" written on his clothes. It's not clear if it's true. This old man is Killua's grandfather, Zeno. Unexpectedly, the first thing he did when he came was to let Killua go. Although Maluki was enjoying himself while beating Killua, he was unwilling, but he dared not go against his grandfather's wishes. Therefore, he could only advise Killua that he had no intention of repentance at all. However, at this moment, Killua, who had been acting half-dead, suddenly exerted a little force and easily unlocked his handcuffs and shackles. He provocatively looked at Maluki, his elder brother, indicating that he indeed had not reflected on his actions. However, the reason he allowed you to beat him was because he felt that his behavior was inappropriate. His unrepentant words and gaze made Maluki extremely angry. But then Zeno suddenly told Killua, "Your father, Silva, is looking for you." Killua then left with an indifferent expression. Maluki, feeling resentful, was quite displeased with this. Although Killua was the strongest genius in the Zoldyck family for so many years, he was not taking the family and its business seriously at all. Silva, Killua's father, sat in a dim room and asked Killua who this so-called friend was. Killua then somewhat timidly told his father that his name was Gon and that he was very happy with him. Seeing Killua's somewhat soft appearance, Silva suddenly felt that he had been somewhat incompetent over the years. He then gently rubbed Killua's head and asked him to tell him about his experiences during these days, which greatly surprised and moved Killua. Killua then vividly described his time with Gon to his father, and when it came to the interesting parts, both of them burst into laughter. As a result, the room was filled with a peaceful atmosphere. After listening to his son's story, Silva asked Killua if he really wanted to see his friend. However, Killua clearly hesitated to answer. Silva then told Killua that although he also wanted to train Killua into a top assassin like his parents did, Killua was different from him. Silva spoke earnestly and sincerely, hoping that Killua could face his inner self honestly and speak out his true thoughts without reservation. Finally, Killua's defenses were down after his father's words, so when Silva asked the same question again, Killua finally nodded and told his father that he wanted to see Gon. Unexpectedly, Silva then told Killua that he was free, and even more surprisingly, he bit his own finger and made Killua swear to never betray his comrades. The scene was quite touching. One could only say that compared to Killua's mother, his father was truly amazing. As Killua walked out of the room, he encountered his neurotic mother in the hallway. Naturally, his mother did not want Killua to leave, but seeing Killua's cold gaze, she could only let him go, deeply shaken in her heart. Killua actually emitted such a cold-killing intent towards her, getting closer and closer to becoming a top assassin. She really didn't want to let go of such a talented son. So Killua's mother finally vented her anger on her husband Silva, but Silva didn't seem to care at all. He seemed to think that after Killua walked out today, it wouldn't be long before he returned as an assassin. Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio followed Kanari towards the butler's room, and coincidentally, Killua also arrived at the butler's room. Hearing that Gon and the others were on their way, Killua was very happy. He asked the butler, Godo, to take good care of him and to inform him as soon as Gon and the others arrived. Killua was very tired now and wanted to rest for a while. However, after Killua left, Godo's inner thoughts clearly showed a different idea. When Gon and the others finally arrived at the butler's room, Godo even considerately had his subordinate bandage Gon's already swollen left eye, and he informed Gon's group that Killua was on his way there. However, waiting was quite boring, so Goto suggested playing a game. Goto took out a coin and started playing Guess the Coin with Gon and the others. Gon had guessed correctly a few times before, but Goto then increased his speed, causing everyone to lose confidence. In reality, Goto's mind was not on the game. While playing with Gon, he told them that the appearance of them made the lady very upset and also made himself, who had watched Killua grow up, very unhappy. He strongly detested the idea of taking Killua away and stated that he would evaluate Gon and the others in his own way, which was not up for debate. As soon as Goto finished speaking, the housekeepers surrounding Gon pulled out their knives, with one even holding a knife to Kanari's neck. Goto informed Gon and the others that Kanari deserved to die for disobeying the master's orders, and they had to continue playing Guess the Coin. Goto used the shadowless hand technique to toss the coin. If they guessed wrong, they would be sent away. The fast speed of Goto's hands made Gon and the others dizzy. Finally, Goto's hand stopped, and Gon and the other two had to guess which hand the coin was in within 3 seconds. Otherwise, Kanari's head would be cut off. Leorio's guessed left hand, while Gon and Kurapika guessed right hand. After the answer was revealed, Leorio's was eliminated. Goto tossed the coin again, and this time, Kurapika was eliminated. Finally, it was Gon's turn, but at that moment, Gon suddenly called for a pause and asked Leorio's for a knife, making Kurapika and Leorio's think he was up to something. But in fact, Gon just used the knife to cut his swollen eyelids so that he could use both eyes. At this time, Killua was still waiting for Goto to report the news. But waiting left and right, Killua ran out of patience. He walked out of the room only to find the entire corridor empty. Something was not right. Gon and Goto's coin toss finally had a result. With 2 eyes, Gon's accuracy indeed greatly improved. Therefore, Goto's starting lineup was all figured out by Gon. Goto, on the other hand, did not have any barriers. He called in other butlers. The 3 of them, with 6 hands, tried to confuse Gon. But Gon is really very sharp. He immediately guessed that the coin was not in the hands of the 3 people in front of him but in the hands of the butler behind him. This time, Goto could only admire him. And at this moment, Killua happened to come over. The 2 good friends were very excited to see each other. Killua was very anxious, pulling Gon to hurry up and leave. He was afraid his mother would regret it if they were late. Before leaving, Goto stopped Gon again. He tossed a coin for Gon to guess which hand it was in. Despite the slow motion, Gon still guessed wrong this time. Clearly, it was caught with the left hand, but why was it in the right hand? Goto said it was a visual trick. There is nothing absolutely correct in this world. Goto hoped Gon would not be too naive in the future and also asked him to take care of young Master Killua. After leaving the Kukuroo Mountain, Gon told everyone about the coin toss just now. Kurapika thought for a moment and understood what Goto's so-called visual trick was all about. In fact, Goto had 2 coins in his hand. He first hid one coin in his right hand, then tossed the other coin and caught it with his left hand. This way, Gon would naturally guess that the coin was in the left hand. But at this moment, Goto just needs to open the coin in his right hand to attract Gon's attention, then he can slide the coin in his left hand into his sleeve. Killua is also quite skilled in this trick. On the train, Killua asked Gon where he planned to go next. Gon said he was going to find Hisoka. In the 4th round of the hunter exam, Hisoka forcibly gave his badge to Gon and said that when Gon could hit him with a heavy punch, he could return the badge. So Gon has been working hard to return the badge and the heavy punch to Hisoka. Killua fully approves of Gon's idea. But where is Hisoka? At this point, Kurapika said he knew the answer, and it was Hisoka who told him. Leorio's was very curious at this point. So after a moment of silence, Kurapika recounted the scene of his battle with Hisoka. It turned out that Hisoka had mentioned the word spider at that time. The spider is the mark of the Phantom Troop. So when Kurapika heard this, he stopped his actions. Hisoka later told Kurapika that on September 1st, he would be waiting for him in York New City. There would be a grand auction held in York New City at that time, and the Phantom Troop would definitely be present. However, there was still half a year until September 1st. Kurapika decided to find an employer in York New City as soon as possible, while Leorio's wanted to go back and prepare for the medical exam. After going through so much, he realized that he still wanted to become a doctor. The 4 agreed to meet again in York New City in half a year. Then Kurapika and Leorio's left. Gon, with an innocent face, asked Killua if they were going to play, but Killua, being more rational, pointed out that Gon's strength still paled in comparison to Hisoka's. If Gon wants to achieve his goal, he must make use of this half-year period for special training. Besides, the other 2 are also out of money. Killua decided to take Gon to a good place. This place is the Heavens Arena. The two finally arrived at the location of the Heavens Arena by airship. Seeing this unparalleled tall building, Gon was extremely excited.
The video ends here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your comments to support the channel. New anime series will be uploaded regularly on 21st Century Anime. Thank you.